My name is Alina. I'm 29 years old, and I live in a modest little house with my husband, Mark, who's 33. We've been married for 5 years, and we have a toddler together with another baby on the way. This is the story of how something as small as a lock on a door slowly grew into something so big, so ugly, and so confusing that I've been pushed to the edge of considering separation. It's not easy to tell this story, but I need to get it out because I feel like I'm losing myself inside the gaslighting, the secrecy, and the unease that comes from living in a marriage where trust is eroding one locked door at a time. When I first met Mark, I admired how organized and particular he was about his belongings. He liked things neat, categorized, and safe. At the time, I thought it was a quirk, even a strength. He always knew where everything was. His files, his clothes, his books, everything was where it belonged, carefully placed and cared for. I was the opposite, a little messy, a little scattered, but creative and warm in my way. We balanced each other out. When we first moved in together, I thought it was cute that he had a little desk where everything had to be perfectly aligned. If I shifted a pen by accident, he'd notice and gently put it back. It seemed harmless. Fast forward to now, and that same attention to detail feels suffocating, secretive, and manipulative. Somewhere along the way, what I thought was just a quirk became a wall between us, literally in the form of a locked door. It started about 6 months ago. Mark works remotely from home 3 days a week, and his office became his sanctuary. He decided to put a lock on the outside of the door, one that only he had the key to. His reasoning was that our toddler was getting into everything, spilling water on laptops, tearing pages from books, smashing toys into the wall. And I'll admit, our toddler is destructive. But something about that lock unsettled me. It wasn't just a regular lock that you'd find on a bedroom or bathroom door when you could open from the inside. No, this was a lock that kept everyone else out. The key was always hidden, and whenever I asked about it, he brushed me off like it wasn't important. At first, I let it go. I told myself I was overthinking, that it was his office, his space, his decision. But in the back of my mind, the thought kept nagging me. Why does a husband need to keep his wife out of a room in their own home? We share everything: finances, a bed, our children, our lives. Why not this? Still, I swallowed my discomfort and carried on. Then, a few days ago, it all came to a head. I had gone into the office briefly to get our bird's perch. The bird usually stays in the living room, but I had stored the perch in the office a while back. Mark was there, and the second I stepped inside, I felt his eyes on me, hovering, suspicious, protective, in a way that wasn't normal. He asked me sharply, "What do you need in here?" I froze a little, caught off guard. "The bird's perch," I said casually, but even as I spoke, I could feel something shift in the room. He was tense, defensive, almost cornered. I grabbed the perch and left, but when I turned back, I saw him lock the door behind me. That's when my stomach dropped. That night, after we put our toddler to bed, I told him I needed to go into the office to get the sheets from the guest mattress. We had visitors coming, and I wanted to get things ready. He immediately stiffened. "I'll take care of it later," he said quickly. "Why later? I can just grab them now." I pressed. "No, really, I'll do it," he insisted. And that's when I finally said what had been gnawing at me for months. "What are you hiding in there? Why are you acting so defensive? It's weird that I have to ask permission to go into a room in my own home." He bristled. His face closed off. His voice grew sharp. "I'm not hiding anything," he said, but his body language screamed otherwise. The more I pushed, the more defensive he became. Finally, after what felt like hours of back and forth, he admitted it. He was hiding weed in the room, and sometimes after I went to sleep, he'd sneak in there to play video games. I blinked at him, stunned. That was it? Weed and video games? I don't love that he hides it, but neither of those things felt like a big enough deal to justify locking me out, lying to me, and treating me like an intruder in my own home. But then when I asked him to just open the door so I could see for myself, he flat out refused. I begged. I pleaded. I told him that his refusal made it look so much worse than it was. If it's just weed and video games, then prove it. Show me. Unlock the door and let me breathe again. He crossed his arms and said no. He told me if I opened the door, he'd be giving in to my pushiness. He said I was being controlling. He told me I was making things up in my head. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he started blaming my pregnancy hormones, telling me I was crazy, imagining things, paranoid, gaslighting me. The whole time, he kept touching my leg, stroking it softly like he was trying to soothe a child throwing a tantrum. "I'm sorry you're going through this," he murmured, as though I was the one with the problem. My blood boiled. I wasn't going through anything. He was causing this. He was the one locking me out, lying, and refusing to let me in. I sat by that door until 2 a.m, pregnant, exhausted, my body aching. I told him I wasn't moving until he opened it. But eventually, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I gave up. I told him, fine, whatever you're hiding, get rid of it by morning. I'm done. And I went to bed, feeling like I had lost something bigger than just an argument. The next morning, the room was perfectly staged. Weed pen on the desk, his Nintendo Switch out in plain sight, everything neat like a set for a play. My gut twisted because it was too clean, too performative. He wanted me to believe that was all there ever had been. But I couldn't shake the feeling there was more. Something darker, something he didn't want me to see. He replaced the lock with a normal one, the kind you can only lock from the inside. He told me that should solve the problem. But the issue isn't the lock anymore. It's the fact that he thought it was normal, reasonable even, to put a lock on an office door in our shared home and keep me, his wife, out. It's the fact that when I confronted him, he gaslighted me, made me doubt myself, told me I was crazy. It's the fact that he refuses to see what's wrong with all of this. Now I'm sitting here, pregnant, with a toddler, wondering if separation is the only way forward. I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to be a single mom with 2 kids, trying to balance work and life and everything else. But what kind of home am I raising them in if their father thinks secrecy, defensiveness, and locked doors are normal? When I look back, I see other red flags, small but telling. Times when he was overly protective of his phone. Times when he dismissed my feelings with a laugh or a patronizing pat on the arm. Times when he brushed off my concerns as if I was being dramatic. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. The lock isn't just on the office door. It's on our marriage, on his openness, on the trust between us. And here's the painful truth. I don't know if I can live like this anymore. I don't know if I can keep being with someone who would rather gaslight me than tell me the truth, who would rather lock me out than let me in. I want partnership, transparency, trust. I want a husband, not a gatekeeper. So, is it normal to put a lock on an office door? Maybe, for some people. But in my marriage, with all the defensiveness, secrecy, and gaslighting surrounding it, it's not normal. It's toxic, and it might be the reason this marriage doesn't survive. That's my story.